Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending this symposium. This symposium is to discuss the development of a novel maritime education and training program and evaluate the reasons for the need for such a development. The symposium also would provide some of the main maritime education and training stakeholders to meet today and exchange views not only on UniMET, but maritime education and training in general. I hope you will find the symposium interesting. The day will start with the presentation by Professor Dr. Rezan Ziyarati, Principal of TÜDEV, Chairman and Project Director of UniMET, titled Innovation in Maritime Education and Training, the UniMET Approach, followed by a keynote speech by Professor Dr. Osman Kamil Sal, Rector of Piri Reis University, highlighting the importance of improving maritime education and training. The industrial keynote speech will be given by Dr. Başak Yücel Akdemir, Macro Shipping Company, and member of the Executive Committee of the Turkish Chamber of Shipping. There will be a series of interactive presentations by key members of the UniMET team, including one of the major awarding bodies at Excel, who are involved in UniMET programs, developments, and accreditations. Professor Ziyarati, would you like to come to the platform?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And before I start my presentation, I wanted to tell you the reason why we have such a symposium in Turkey. UniMET, which is a new program for unifying the maritime education and training, is a European-funded project. We had a major trans-European conference in London to present our case to the colleagues throughout Europe. And then a decision was made that some of the countries selected to pilot the UniMET program should have a symposium, a national symposium. Turkey has been selected as one of the countries to pilot the UniMET project. For some of you may not be aware, recently we made a proposal through the European Union, through the Turkish government, for a multi-million center for maritime education and training. It's called Turkish Maritime Center of Excellence. People talk about this, but I can assure you that it is going to be a reality. There is going to be a center in Tuzla. So what do we mean by excellence? So this is an example of what one means by excellence in terms of maritime education and training. The maritime education training, we are the largest holders of maritime education training, European Union funded maritime education training programs, as well as number of research, Framework 7 and Factories of the Future program to underpin such developments. What do we mean by innovation? Innovation was defined when we set up the European program in early 1980s. We thought business not as usual. So that's a very simple definition. And usually people say, what is excellence? We will have this concept of excellence is to go beyond the minimum standards and to make sure there is a recognition for it. The topic of my presentation is innovation in maritime education and training. So, the UniMET approach. What is it? First of all, I will talk to you for a few minutes what is UniMET, and then I will tell you why we need UniMET, and I will obviously conclude after my presentation. Most of you are familiar with maritime education and training. You know there is IMO standards, STCW. It was designed in 1978. It has always been modified. The latest changes was in 2010. One of the problems with IMO is I'm very supportive of IMO. IMO is the international legislator for various aspects of maritime, not only just maritime education and training, all aspects of maritime affairs. But the problem is if you go to some of the meetings, you will notice that it's a huge body. There are hundreds of delegations coming in, and they are there to guide, they are there to help and support, but they are not a very flexible system, and they are not very responsive. Whereas within Europe, people like us, we can get together, put a proposal, and if the proposal is good, it's funded, and things could take place. Also, there is a body called the European Maritime Safety Agency, EMSA. EMSA is very similar to IMO, with one difference. EMSA has got funds, and it also has got teeth. It monitors standards and makes sure they are implemented. So the problem with IMO is they always try to modify rather than looking at what was the situation in 1978 and what's the situation in 2012. Let's now come and design a new system. They didn't. They always, because of the problem, because of the inertia, they always try to modify things as they go along. There are three concerns we have within Europe. When I say Europe, I worked for a number of years, supported the European Union, and I was involved in the first network of European projects called Eurotainment, which created the Framework 7, created the Leonardo project, so on. So our history goes back to the days that when things started. That's why we have been successful, because we know the system well. And we don't expect any favors from anybody. We usually write a very good proposal, it's an open bid, and based on that, which is the success rate is about 10% usually on average, we managed to get a lot of projects to do what we intended to do here in Turkey. But we have three concerns. The first concern is, are SDCW, these are the minimum standards for maritime education and training, are they implemented correctly? How are these standards monitored? And why there is so much focus on minimum standards? We know, based on our research, safety is an issue. 80% of accidents at sea are caused by human error. We have, in the last 9 years, here in Turkey, or in the past, for the last 25 years, we have been trying to find out why. You cannot just say human error. Where is it? So we have done an extensive study of accidents in the past, and based on that we have identified certain deficiencies in maritime education and training, but obviously in other areas, but we have been primarily concerned on education side. Also, we know the industry is facing a shortage of well-qualified officers, primarily due to young people not choosing the seafaring career for living. And the reason for this is, it used to be fun to be a seafarer. It's not fun anymore. There are business pressures, there are security issues. These poor young people come in, they go from one port to another. The question of compatibility and mutual recognition of certification and so on is a major issue at this moment in time in Europe. So what can we do to solve some of these problems? Europe set up this European Maritime Safety Agency. You may have your views on, those of you who are familiar with EMSA, you may have your views about EMSA. I'm very pro EMSA, because they actually say, okay, if IMO has set up minimum standards, who is monitoring this? IMO doesn't monitor it. They haven't got the resources. So EMSA was formed to make sure some standards are met. As you know, they go and visit various maritime education administration, maritime education and training institutions, not only within Europe. They go outside to other countries who trade with Europe. They want to make sure the waters around Europe is safe, the ports are safe, and if there are standards, you are going to implement it, and implement it correctly. They came to TUDAF twice. And in fact, initially TUDAF wasn't going to be considered. We insisted that TUDAF is a center, is implementing it at that time, an innovative project called Safety on Sea. Safety on Sea was an integrated program developed based on North European, Middle European, and Southern European programs combined, implemented at TUDAF, accredited by international bodies, and it received its international recognition. All TUDAF students, some of them are here, they can go to anywhere in Europe and they will be treated as a European cadet or a cadet European officers. So this is very unusual. They even can sit for instance, for the Maritime Coast Guard Agency of UK Certificate of Competency and become UK Officer of Watch. So that was a success, and the important thing was that we weren't talking about it. It was actually happening, and it was implemented in reality. Now, what are the responsibilities? I did mention EMSA rights report. Okay, these are confidential, but some people have got access. they identify where the problems are. And the story is how can UniMET support EMSA and what the situation is in Europe. I will explain why. EMSA at the moment goes to various maritime administration and they just monitor because there isn't a standard system. They just look to see what is the administration is doing, or they come to institutions like Istanbul Technical University, maritime faculty, to see where things are. They only got a checklist in a sense. These are the standards. Where is it? It's very difficult because they interact. Where is this? They have to go and get the documentation and so on. UniMET gives them a model and an opportunity to all maritime education and training, not only in Europe, in the world, to set up this system, which is based on what IMO says, what Europe wants, and I will go through the detail in the next few minutes, so that institutions know what EMSA wants, and when EMSA goes, the two things are matched. Now, if you look at what is UniMET, it's a unified program going beyond STCW, minimum standards, and it is accredited by major accrediting and awarding body. And we have got a number of guests. Unfortunately, we were stuck in the traffic, so some of them may join us later. There is a representative from one of these accrediting bodies, and there is a representative from one of these awarding bodies. The difference between awarding body and accrediting body is, awarding body says you can give a qualification, like a degree. Accrediting body says your degree satisfies the industrial requirements. So both of these bodies, which are international bodies, they have accredited this program. And some of the changes that we have introduced as a part of UniMET is being accredited now. So it means UniMET has got international recognition. So if the students go on these programs, wherever they go, whatever they get, that will be recognized Europe-wide, worldwide. Now, UniMET also identifies and promotes good practice. What is a good practice? We have defined it within our impact. There is a European project called Impact, www.impact.pro. We say any solution that solves a particular problem, or anything that identifies a deficiency is a good practice. And we don't talk about best practice. Technically, best practice is among a number of good practices. The solution that is selected by an organization is the best practice. Now, and we wanted to make sure that not UniMET, but various elements of it is of international standards and within the European qualification framework. There is a framework, there is an international framework, IMO sites. There is a European framework, both in terms of qualification and practice. So we have, whatever we design, have to do it within these international and European frameworks. It integrates a number of solutions, good practices, and I mentioned MARTEL. These are reality, by the way. These are developed by TUDAF, by its partners. TUDAF and PIRDACE are all one family. As far as we are concerned, there is only one BAKIF, one foundation. And what is important, that this organization here has been party to develop a number of solutions. MARTEL is a set of standards for maritime English. It's an online test, and also it has a number of guidelines. And if you're a cadet, there is a phase 1, you have to pass that test, so there is a standard. And if you're an officer, if marine engineering, there is a test. If it's a deck, there is a test. If you're a senior marine engineer, there is a test. If there is a senior deck officer, there is a test. So these tests have been developed. And also as a part of MARTEL, we have got 2 European projects. One is called Marine, one is called Captains. We are developing content for it. Now, EGMDSS, what is that? Again, this is an e-learning, e-assessment for maritime communication, because we thought maritime communication is a major issue, especially when it comes to integrating various electronic navigation devices like ECDIS, ACIS, ARPA, radar, and so on. So, because a modern bridge is a combination of a number of electronic devices, and these are integrated. They should not be taught individually. EGMDS won the European Enterprise Award. Is one of the top e-learning. So, an organization in Turkey has been party to a major e-learning package development. SailPass recently finished. It was led by TUDAF. What is it? Ships are becoming more modern, they are becoming more automated. Now accidents generally are decreasing. but accidents due to automation failures are increasing. There are a lot of engine stops in the middle of the sea. Every one of those stops is an accident waiting to happen. So as far as we were concerned, we looked at the accidents, we selected a number of these. We developed ship simulator exercises based on previous accidents. We also developed in parallel the PC-based. So if you haven't got access to ship simulators, some of the institutions in Turkey don't, then they can actually use these PC-based exercises. Mayday was the same. We train our cadets for all possibilities. But technically, we should focus on where the emergency have happened in the past. Again, we went back to the accidents, we look at the emergencies. We developed a set of ship simulator exercises scenarios in parallel again, a PC base. So in a sense, there have been a lot of other projects. The idea is not to go through each one of them. But UniMET technically takes advantages of some of these solutions which I mentioned in terms of MARTES, CEPAS, and so on. It takes care of IMO course models and the latest changes to produce the UniMET. The only thing that some of you may not know, if you are a maritime education and training, you usually use either, they call it MNTB, Merchant Navy Training Board portfolio for sea training, or use the International Shipping Federation portfolio. And these two portfolios are used by everybody. UniMET says, no, how can you have two different portfolios? We have cross-referenced these, we find out what is missing in MNTB, what is missing in ISF. We now have UniMET, ISF plus, MNTB plus. So EMSA now knows, if they go to a maritime education training, if there's an ISF, they would ask, what about the pluses? Are you doing those two? So there is no problem now. The both systems have been harmonized. This is UniMET. I've already explained what it is, but it is technically, I don't know whether my pen from here is going to work. The laser sensor is not very good, but nevertheless. Firstly, it is based on IMO revised model courses. It takes into account STC safety courses' latest syllabuses. You also bring some of the good practices I mentioned, and if the minimum standards are set, we will refer to the person who's graduating, satisfying the minimum standards, as Officer Class 1. So before, as you know, E2 students, they were complaining. How come to them is having a students who are on the course, and then they can become officers and so on, and we go to university, we work 4 years and do all this maths and science, and we are treated equally. Technically, they weren't equal. They were university graduates, whereas the students from TUTAB were not going to get a university degree. So technically, the TUTAB was producing officer class 1, whereas E2 was class producing something more. So we want to make sure universities like E2 or others get the recognition. In fact, PRAs should get the recognition for what they do extra. So the first one is officer class 1, minimum standards of IMO. The next one is officer class 2, which takes into account some of these good practices. Then we have a master class. Master class are the people who go to maritime university like PRAs, and they do a lot more. They are the graduates. And we also got the captains of industry. The captains of industry are people who do like Captain Ergun Demiral, who's now a doctor, congratulations. He's the one he's gone at his age, registered for a PhD in maritime education and training. He's got his degree like Captain Olbayrak sitting behind us somewhere. Is Captain Olbayrak here? He was gone. Well, no, he got his doctorate. I take my hat off to these guys. But there should be some sort of recognition. These guys have gone beyond officer level, beyond the master level. These are the captains of industry. And we want EMSA to make that distinction and to make sure that they get that recognition. We also have negotiated that UniMET will take advantage of the credit transfer system in Europe. So we have got the captain of industry at level 8 and 7 of European qualification. We have decided what the credit is, the period, how long it will take. We have also decided on the master class, officer 1, officer 2, at what level of European qualification, what credit, how many years. We have given credit to sea training, because to us, sea training is very important. for those of you who are familiar with credit transfer scheme, you only give credit transfer scheme for academic work, not for vocational. We want to make sure the vocational aspects is also accredited and treated equally. So, and we also give credit obviously to vocational schools. They should have some credit. So when they do come in, some of these poor boys have been doing 4 years of study. They should not be treated the same. And we also said that if once you go beyond the officer level 2, if you are talking about master level, like what PRACE is doing, then there has to be some sort of additional units. And our additional units is there should be a project, there should be a unit on marine management, finance, and law. That's not to say E2 doesn't do it or PRACE is not doing it. We are just saying there should be. And for obviously there should be a distinction between deck and marine engineering. In marine engineering, for instance, there should be advanced marine engineering at management level. There should be, for instance, for deck, something on cargo and passenger ships. So we are hoping that if this is going to be a master class, it's going to be above officer level 2 plus some additional units. And obviously, we have got arrangement with Plymouth University, and I'm sure PRACE is in the future going to work with many other universities. But if there is no reason that students from one country cannot come to Turkey and vice versa, so we are trying to make sure if there is an Erasmus program, then there is this top-up. In the past, 2 level students went to Plymouth, and after 1 year, they completed their degree study. Why did we send 2 level students to Plymouth? The reason we did it to make sure we benchmark, and our standards, we can check them. Is our standards at TUDA as good as Plymouth? And every student went to Plymouth have come back with successes. The last 3 last year, we got upper second, right? Upper second is one of the best honors degree you can get from a British university. So in a sense, it wasn't the idea that we want to implement a British system. We are trying to implement a European system. And Turkey has taken the lead. And Turkey, the first center, maritime center of excellence, will be set up in Turkey. We have also, people sometimes argue, what is the credit? What do we mean by officer class 1? How do you equivalent, what is it equivalent to in terms of IMO, model courses, and so on? So we are going to discuss that in the workshop this afternoon. And also some universities run 8 units per year, some 6, some 4. It doesn't really matter. If you use in 1 year 8 units, 1 unit is 7.5 credit, and each unit is 60 hours. If at the end, you in 1 year, like Plymouth, you run 4 units of study, 1 unit is 15 credits, and each unit should be under 20 hours. So we have got this equivalency between credits and number of hours and so on. Later on, we are going to talk about Sail Ahead. It's another project, but it is for the workshop in the afternoon. Because people talk about what we do at PRACE, or what we do at E2, or whatever happens in the maritime education institution. What is important also, what happens in industry. We have gone to European Union and we told them, young people are not joining the profession. There is a shortages. Even many Turkish ship owners are recruiting from Philippines, from not China. China is going to float the market. Now, there are a lot of unemployed Turks, young Turks. There are institutions like PRACE, like E2 or whatever. There should be this institution should give an opportunity to these young people to come. And there are jobs waiting for them. And the pay is good. So in a sense, what we said was, let us make this profession more attractive to young people. So we have cross-reference what they do in the college, what they gain at sea, to the jobs on shore. And so the young people, it's an online platform. So they go and, when they're at sea, they look to see what jobs there are at shore, on shore, and what they need to develop. So they have time to develop those skills. I won't go through this because we are going to discuss it at the workshop. But those of you who are interested, you become involved. There are going to be 2 workshops, one on UniMET, and the other one is going to be on European research and development. We have a colleague from TÜBİTAK, Mr. Sarhat Belik here. Unfortunately, he was stuck in the traffic. He should join us. He's from TÜBİTAK. And what we have done is, some of you may not be familiar with Factories of the Future. It's a major program started in Turkey. And we want to put some sort of funding into to underpin some of these programs you're doing here and hopefully at peer race. But one thing I want you to show you, when they ask captains and officers at sea, 414 of them, most of them prefer to work on shore. This is a reality. So many young people, especially if they are graduate, if they get the opportunity, they do not want to stay at sea too long. This is a reality of life. This is the captains, this is the cadets. Again, majority prefer to work at. We are going to discuss it at the workshop. The idea wasn't to discuss it now. But the fact is, cadets, if you ask them, where do you want to work? They don't want to work. They rather stay on shore. And that reality has to be realized. During the workshop, I'm going to go through some of these main elements of UniMET. Because UniMET is not just the IMO model courses. It's all these other good practice courses that I mentioned. So conclusion. UniMET is not just a set of harmonized maritime education and training. It contains its own online platform with several variations of maritime education and training programs. Examples in Spain, examples in Lithuania, examples in Holland, examples in Turkey, examples. So all these examples are like chapters. So people can refer what is happening in Holland. At the end, the Holland is harmonized with UniMET. Spanish program is harmonized with UniMET. So everybody, there is a middle model which has taken all the good practices and gets harmonized a unified program for European consideration. It's based on the outcome of several major research and development projects. We didn't just come into the European Union, give us money, we want to do this. We had to do a lot of research, we had to produce a lot of paper, we had to present this paper at conferences. UniMET and each element of it has been tested in real environments. These have been tested, these haven't just been developed and hope for the best. UniMET and its good practices will receive international recognition. I notice our colleague from BTEC is here. Yes, temperature, nice to see you. And he's going to make a presentation. They are putting their program in line with ours. They operate in over 100 countries, so hopefully they have a say. And we have been working with them, and hopefully we will work with you in the future. And finally, we know Sail Ahead is going to make it more attractive to young people to join our profession. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Rather than asking Lerna to come here to introduce our rector doesn't need any introduction, everybody knows him. Professor Sal, would you come over? And he's going to make a presentation, and I think his presentation is going to be very interesting. I'll leave it to him to make the introduction. Professor Sal.
Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I do understand that we have non-Turkish contributors in the audience, so I'll make my presentation in English. Thank you very much to Professor Ziyareti for inviting me to make a contribution for a speech in this international symposium on UniMET project, unification of maritime education and training. I did know about the project before. I understand it more during our discussions during this week, and I find it very interesting. I'll try to make my contribution to this very interesting project on another note. This is a very interesting project to implement as far as maritime education and training is concerned, but you also have to find the right person to implement the project on. Who are the right students that will give you the highest efficiency as far as serving as a seafarer on board vessels. As we all know, throughout the world, I this quite well from my past employment at IMO as STW chairman, that there has been always a shortage of seafaring officers, especially good quality seafaring officers, throughout the world, and the predictions of 2015, 2020 do show that there will still be a shortage of seafaring officers throughout the world in 10 years' time. And we also, when we have a look at countries like some of the European countries, Western European countries, where the standards of living is very high, they do not like to go on and to work on board vessels as a seafaring officers. The majority, as Professor Ziyaret'i said, the majority of the seafaring officers do come from Asia Pacific, where comparatively the standards of living is lower compared to the Western European countries. So we do see a financial problem there. When we come to Turkey, we face a similar problem. In my previous employment as the Dean of ITU Maritime Faculty, where I served for 15 years, as you know, entrance to our university in Turkey is through the general entrance examination. We did recruit a number of very bright students coming from different high schools, graduating from different high schools. But after graduation, the statistics show that in 5 years' time, only at maximum 4 or 5% of these graduates do stay on board vessels. They opt for shore-based jobs. You are a taxpayer, I'm a taxpayer. ITU Maritime Faculty is a government institution. So through our taxes, a number of very bright students do get the maritime education and training in IQMF, but they don't serve as seafaring officers. So I do find this a waste of human resource. On the other hand, in Turkey, we do have, as you all know, about 63, that was the latest number, if that hasn't increased in the past year, maritime vocational high schools. Parents take their children to these maritime vocational high schools at the age of, after their O-levels, at the age of 14 maybe. They take maritime education and training, but the system works such that all of these young children who really love to work on board vessels as officers in the future cannot find themselves a place in universities that are carrying out maritime education and training. There's a problem here. Because in vocational maritime high schools, a high school in Turkey is for 4 years after junior high school, they take courses like maths, physics, chemistry only at class 1. But in classes 2, 3, and 4, in years 2 and 3, 4, they do vocational courses, at the end of which they cannot compete with graduates of other high schools who are doing such courses throughout 4 years. So they love to be seafaring officers, but they cannot find a place after the university entrance exams in the universities. As I said, in my experience of 15 years in ITU, there was not a single student we have recruited from a maritime vocational high school. So, in Turkey, we must solve this problem. This is more of a problem, more than Pirenees' problem. This is a problem of Turkey. Well, about 3 weeks ago, I was invited to Plymouth University together with one of our alumni from Today Maritime Center, Mr. Başar Beyazoğlu, who was the chairman of the National Maritime Students Association, DÖDER, to sign an MOU with Plymouth University next year to start the very first World Maritime Students Association, which we intend to make an NGO, the very first NGO at IMO, which we think is an innovation, business not like usual. And Mr. Başar Beyazoğlu is also a graduate of a maritime vocational high school. He knows what his friends are doing. During our rather long journey from Plymouth to London, on the way to, after we signed the MOU, to IMO, we have done a lot of brainstorming on the train. How can we streamline, how can we recruit these maritime vocational high school graduates who are the real students we must see to increase the efficiency of seafaring officers staying on board vessels? How can we get them to universities? We will write this in Chamber of Shipping, about this on Chamber of Shipping monthly publication. Well, I think the first approach should be, this is not only for Pirenees, this is for all maritime education and training institutes in Turkey. The first approach, I think we should make it to the Ministry of Education to change the system. Inefficient, inefficient system at maritime vocational high schools in Turkey. Change the curriculum. Start teaching in English. And change the name of it from Maritime Vocational High School to Maritime Vocational Technical High School, where the system is slightly different. They teach more maths, physics, chemistry together with the vocational courses, but they can just about make it to the university. We won't, after this change, we won't promise that they'll be all Einsteins, but they'll be good, willing seafaring officers, but they'll be able to make it to the university. The second solution is most of these students who love the sea and who go training for 4 years in a vocational maritime high school and who really like to be ocean-going officers and to attend to universities, they come from families of modest income. So there is a financial problem, like throughout the world, in Turkey as well. We can solve this problem of changing the system maybe, but then again, then being able to be streamlined by Pirenees Maritime University, though our foundation is very, very generous, has been very generous in the past 3 years by providing students with an average 50% grants. in Piraeus Maritime University, for your information, on average, 50% of the students are on full grants by our foundation. But still, they come from different universities, from different high schools. There is not a guarantee that they will end up being seafaring officers working on board vessels. So what should we do? We are already providing the grants. Maybe I was very happy to hear from our meeting, from informal meeting with some of our board of directors yesterday. Dr. Akdemir was there, Suat Bey was there yesterday, and that we can change this system to increase the efficiency. How can we do this? We can, once we recruit the right student to the university, who likes definitely to stay on board vessels and work for a long time, through our very careful orientation, bringing the student, the parent, and the shipping company together, and signing a contract, financial contract, within a banking system, with guarantors from both sides. The ship owner will guarantee to the bank that the student he has opted for, he'll look after him throughout his education, including his onboard training, but he has made good contact with him throughout orientation, and he'll be guarantor to the bank. The bank, this we tried to do last year, but last minute we had some problems, but maybe we can still run this project. This was Bashar's and my mutual joint idea. The ship owner being to the bank, the ship owner being a guarantor to the bank, that he'll provide jobs after graduation, and will take care of the onboard training, and the student bringing two guarantors that in case something goes wrong, and in case he doesn't like to, he changes his mind, doesn't like to work on board vessels, his guarantors will pay all of the money spent on them. Then for every year he spent in the university in a successful scheme, which is 1 + 4, he'll work maybe 2 years on board vessel of the shipping company that they have guarantor for. So Bashar and I think this is an all win-win-win project for the ship owner, for the university, which solves the financial problem, and this is just routine application in the United Kingdom, for example. No parent pays for the children, for the student to go to the university. They always have a grant from a company, whatever. And also, ship owner has a long-serving, loyal shipping officer. The bank gets its money back because students start paying the shipping company back with a certain percentage of his salary throughout his 10 years serving on board the vessel for the ship owner. So I think this solves for this very interesting project that we are looking forward to be implied under the guidance and advice of Professor Ziareti, to find the right person. Because if you have an excellent program, if you don't have the right student to imply it on, if if you can't do your recruiting efficiently, if you can't streamline properly, like in ITMF, they are all Einsteins, more or less, but at the end, no one is serving on board vessels. Throughout this system, I think Peter Reis maybe will start implementing this project. Next year, I was very happy. They gave me some positive signs. Thank you very much. Starting next year, it doesn't have to be 4-year university education, like in the system. There's a junior college education, meslek yüksekokulu as well. It can be implemented, but at a different level. But also the Turkish legislation for seafaring officers has to be changed. That is inefficient as well. At the moment, according to IMO or STCW, the Turkish administration has 3 kinds of certificates of competency, licenses. One of them is what we call near coastal voyage licenses, which is the smallest certificate of competency. Then we have limited license, and we have ocean-going license. The maritime vocational high school graduates, they did start with near coastal license. They used to be granted the limited ones, but there is no vessels at the moment in Turkish fleet that can employ officers with limited license. So, again, that was a waste of human resource. I do hear that there's a change in legislation very soon, seafaring officers legislation, going back to giving the high school graduates near coastal voyage licenses, which will again be a shame, a waste of human resource. But if they are given limited licenses, and if you can change the system so that they can enter to the university, and with the financial agreement, they can stay on board vessels of the ship owner, I think this will solve not only the problem in Turkey, but it will solve the problem throughout the world, the international problem. As you know, the law, higher education law, you don't need to take the entrance examination if graduating from maritime vocational high school, if you only like to go to junior maritime high schools. So for graduates of vocational maritime high schools, with not the very smart ones, they can get into the university, but they can go to 1+2, learning English first, doing 2 more years at the meslek yüksekokulu in a university, and they can still be a power quality throughout a system like this, throughout quality MET force, not only for Turkey, but also for the rest of the world. Thank you very much. I hope I try to highlight maybe only one boundary condition, but what I think and what we think is a very important boundary condition, because if you don't have students, if you don't have the right student giving the maximum efficiency, you can have excellent systems, but at the end, like in the past in Turkey, and also in a number of countries, there will always be a shortage of seafaring officers. Thank you very much for patiently listening.
If we can have Sardar Bey here, just to make sure we've got the slides ready for Dr. Akdemir. Is Sardar Bey here?
Just that.
Ah, he's just come up. Okay, in that case, I will yes. I do his job. Now, the next presentation is by Dr. Basha Yaknemi. She's going to come and talk to us about industry education partnership. At the end, what we do at TUDA peer race or whatever is for industry, is what we are doing, is what industry needs. Dr. Basha Yaknemi, the platform is yours.
Good morning. For all of our guests who don't know us, I'd like to give a bit of explanation about cooperation between the industry, maritime education, and training institutions. I think we are doing a great example in Turkey. Turkish Chamber of Shipping has always been supporting the maritime education, but we decided to do it formally. So in 1993, we have founded Turkish Maritime Education Foundation, whose main aim is to support all Turkish maritime schools, both in high school levels or in university levels throughout Turkey. And in 1995, due to lack of number of officers, both in marine engineers and officers, we have established our own school in 95. And we are very proud that we now have our own university since 2008, PDD's University. But Turkish Chamber of Shipping is still supporting all maritime schools within Turkey. If you look from the industry, our main aim is to have high-quality, international recognized maritime education and training. And the most important thing on board a vessel is safety on sea, the human element, the safety of our captains and all our crew. And like Professor Sai explained, no matter, like he has explained, we are supporting our schools financially, but unless you have the right students, then you cannot keep them on board. So we have to make maritime education programs attractive to young people. I know it's not an easy job to work on board of vessels, but within today's technology, I think it's also becoming better. We now have on board of our vessels even internet connections where they are always connected and they can talk to their families, not like in the past when they're at harbor, but they can actually talk to them through these new technologies whenever they want with the systems we have established on board our vessels. And online platforms for updating courses where they can update themselves, and of course getaways for progression to higher education and more senior posts. Of course, our biggest expectation is to have sufficient supply of officers of all rank. There is a big shortage not only in Turkey but throughout the world. And in shipping we need a mobile workforce, the competence, the criterion, and a unified set of maritime education and training programs mutually recognized worldwide. So what has UniMET achieved? Our main aim was to harmonize the maritime education and training through a comprehensive study of current practices worldwide and through Europe. UniMET is composed of several highly innovative constituent parts which mostly are being developed at the same time as UniMET is being developed itself. So it includes amended IMO model courses, revised IMO safety courses, novel sea training practices, online platform for maritime education and training, and innovative safety courses, safety SOS, Surpass, Mayday, EGM, DSS, Maritime English Sail Ahead, to example a few. UniMET and its various elements are being developed and tested through novel rapid prototyping methods in real terms and within European qualification framework, and having a unique quality assurance system. It offers credits for both academic as well as vocational achievement. The significant thing about UniMET rewards achievements above the minimum standards set by IMO and MET is it has established a progressive system for progression from basic officer level to more senior class, to a new level referred to as master class, followed by yet another new level called captains of the industry. Therefore, UniMET promotes lifelong learning and achievements. not just a system of learning for those working at sea, but it is providing means of prior learning for the learning at college and at sea, to be recognized and to be linked to a whole set of job profiles ashore, so that people who are, the young people, know that later in life they will have a work ashore also, so they do not have to spend their life at sea. Like Professor Ziarati explained, this is again our slide showing what is UniMET is composed of. So while developing UniMET, we considered professional experience, conventions and rules, industry standards, continuous professional development, management, human element, underpinning knowledge, safety awareness, risk assessment, leadership, technical proficiency, engine and navigation systems, professionalism. A review of UniMET programs clearly illustrates that it is almost fully addresses the maritime education and training needs of industry and the profession in short, medium and long term. And I would like to wish you all the best continuing. Good luck to UniMET teams in Turkey and Europe. And I really hope that, like Professor Sai explained, through unification of maritime education and training and through the support of Chamber of Shipping, we do not only supply the students with the funds needed, but also we make them sure that their jobs at sea is guaranteed while they are studying. And we bring it very soon within the university, a department where the students know from day one that they'll be getting their scholarships and they know where they're going to be working, including their vocational work. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you for very encouraging words, because one of the things I wanted to say, because Professor Zan mentioned streamlining within Turkey, this process is taking place in a number of European countries. My two friends, Captain Ergun Demiral and Cesar Yeşil, are going to come in the next few minutes to make a presentation about their experience. They've been traveling, they've been going around, cross-referencing programs, developing UniMET program and so on. But I wanted to see, because Professor Sam mentioned Bashar Bayazur, he's standing there, right? You came from a maritime school, you came to TUDEF, you went to England, and you got an honors degree 2-1 from Plymouth University. This is what we call efficiency. In reality, we prove that there are young people who come from these schools, and if there is a right system in Turkey, they would be able to progress and achieve. And that achievement obviously is going to help the future of Turkey and future of the maritime industry. Anyway, the next presentation is by Captain Demiral and Cesar Yeşil. Please do come to the platform. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how innovation can be implemented in a maritime institution and hopefully in Turkey. Mr. Cesar Yeşil.
Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, within the scope of the UniMET project, me and Captain Dr. Demiral made some visits to some partner countries. The aim of the visit was to monitor and ensure the implementation of UniMET within the institutions goes according to the agreed plan, and to pinpoint the good practice of partner MET institutions for the intended benchmark. We have visited first Lithuanian Maritime Academy, and the same week, in the second half of the 26th to 22nd of January, visited Satakunta University of Applied Science in Finland. And in March, we visited Faculty of Nautical Sciences of Barcelona in Spain. And finally, Maritime Institute Willem Brands in Netherlands. During the visits, existing quality systems of each MET, including their quality improvements and enhancements, teaching and assessment issues, student progression and achievement, samples of students' assessed work, student support and guidance methods, institutions' learning resources, and institutions' good practices with regard to all above mentioned aspects were reviewed, observed, and discussed with partners. Program structures of all METs. International Convention of Standards of Training, Certification and Watch Keeping, SCCW, includes the minimum requirements of the education and training of seafarers, as explained before previous speakers. SCCW Convention is established in 1978, amended in 1995, and recently 2010. Based on those minimum requirements, IMO has developed model courses to assist MET institutions in organizing their own education and training programs. It should be kept in mind that model courses are merely guidelines to be followed, not to exclude any basic and important issue from the course syllabuses. In addition to those minimum requirements, all other international, national, and awarding body requirements are to be followed and included into training programs by related partners MET institutions. Therefore, first project activity was to investigate the compliance of all partners MET programs initially with the existing IMO 704 and 703 model courses contents. During the monitoring visits, all partners programs were cross-referenced with competence requirements of the SCCW. This was to ensure that the minimum standards set for SCCW for seafarers at operational level are being met and maintained. I would like just to show an example of this cross-reference is made. This is on the left side, you see IMO model course curricula for engineering officer of watch. According to code, course subject, course code, sub-course subject, and related guided learning hours foreseen by IMO model courses. On the right side, just as an example, to the curricula, engineering department, managing department, shows the guided learning hours and cross-referencing. In the bottom, beyond what STCW foresees, additional local requirements to be met, foreseen by our maritime administration. You see, total learning hours foreseen by IMO is 1,540, and in total, what we applied to that was 1,760 plus 525 hours, which is about to include also Turkish national requirements. It's also observed that all partner countries visited delivered their MET programs to satisfy local national requirements foreseen by their maritime administrations and or Minister of National Education. All MET institutions possess a quality system and are accredited by a national and or an awarding body and subject to periodic audit visits. It's stated during the visit that EMSA, as it is explained by Professor Ziyarettin during his speech, the importance and role of EMSA, paid several visits to Lithuania Maritime Academy and Netherlands and did not find any major deficiency with regard to their implementation of SCCW requirements. Mainly, all MEP institutions visited are applied science faculties, academies, subordinated to their universities. In general, the training standards are in line with the minimum requirements set forth by IMO, and all course, unit, or module contents already adjusted or being adjusted in accordance with the Bologna process. Finland and Netherlands seem very close to be in line with SSW 2010 requirements in terms of new requirements of BRM and ARM training and sea training applications. Both countries' sea training applications for deck and marine departments are 12 months. On the other hand, Lithuania and Spain are in the process of implementing the new requirements in their existing curriculum. During our visits, we also made observations how they use their learning resources for the materialization of their existing curricula. Netherlands has a well-equipped and in-house developed, which they are very proud of, saying that they develop their own laboratories in-house, electricity and electrotechnical laboratories. There are two sets of laboratories aligned for the requirements of the students for first year and second year education. Hydraulic and pneumatic laboratories, including refrigeration and air conditioning units, mechanical workshop and welding facilities in different locations to provide the necessary practical training foreseen in the STCW code. There are also very good examples of cooperation and collaboration with industry and the MEP institutions. There is a container donated by one of the companies used for training purposes, the container refrigeration unit. Suitable equipment to support firefighting and life-saving courses are also provided. Available spaces are used very effectively to locate simulators and laboratories. You see, there is an engine maintenance workshop situated on an outside location. For maintenance work included as well. There are Varsity diesel engines with the tools and dismantling equipment provided within this facility. There are facilities for maintenance work, training on engines and other equipment. You see from inside the Varsity engines, it's possible to see, because all equipment are cut, to be able to provide good insight how the engine functions. Most of the equipment is cut to facilitate the visual perception of the function of the engine and individual engine parts. There are also hydraulic pumps, gear pumps, purifiers, different diesel engine parts, such as cylinder liners, cylinder heads, fuel pumps, etc. within this facility. There are also necessary tools for maintenance work also provided for training purposes. If we change to Finland, we have seen also similar facilities there, but I'm going to show something about their machine shop and welding facilities. It's very well equipped and well above SCCW requirements as far as our observations. You see the welding equipment, at the same time having safety aspects included as well from the health point of view. Machine maintenance and operating facilities are also very well equipped. There are two versatile diesel engines. Generators are fully functional and operative. and can be connected to a switchboard for the use live simulation of ship functions. It's also good maintenance facilities embedded in the facility. Different fuel pumps, electric-driven compressors, purifiers, valves, and other available equipment are used for maintenance and training purposes. There is a full operational steam boiler facility that produces steam at 13 bar dedicated to training. They are all connected to the switchboard. The power generated by those systems are connected to this real switchboard and available for the training. Hydraulic, pneumatic, refrigeration, and laboratories are well equipped and functional. You see a watertight door operating system. It's also donated one of the shipping companies for training purposes. To the training institution. Electronic and automatic laboratories are used for training and assessment as well as. It's also observed that one cadet and lots of cadets are being assessed on a laboratory setup. These are all good practices we have observed that can be benchmarked and applied all other institutions within this project. At this point, I'm going to turn the platform to Captain Demirel to go further, going on with sea training and other applications and observations we have seen during our monitoring visits. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests. And as far as concerning the sea training is a very important part of the maritime education and training. And we have also investigated the sea training system of the partner countries. Taking into account the SCCW, the sea training portfolios are also to be revised. And we have made a study on the sea training report books. And we take into considerations two portfolios. One of them is the Merchant Navy Training Board of United Kingdom Sea Training Portfolio. The other one is ISF, International Shipping Federation Advised Reporting Group. Both documents are based on IMO Training Report Book for the seagoing phase of model course 703 and 704. These are the officer on the watch for deck and the engine. And after the investigation, we have realized that also we should take into account a study on the sea training system and subsequently the sea training portfolios in the future studies of the UniMET, because it is approximately 1/4 of our maritime education and training system for the officers, and it is vital for their future duties. And as far as concerning two portfolios, MNTB and the ISF portfolio, MNTB is rather well planned or designed, but when we investigate two portfolios, there are missing points, both of them. And we believe, making a study on it, we can improve a better portfolio for the cadets. And the automation especially is a very significant issue nowadays, and it is missing in our portfolios. It should be included. And there are some parts concerning the special or specific ships, but there's a big change on this issue in the SCCW, and subsequently we should make some changes also this part of the portfolios. And for the safety course implementations, we have surprised when we visit Lithuania, because in a very limited area, and there are many restrictions, especially for the firefighting facilities, but they have improved a very feasible system in very small areas and effectively can be used effectively by the cadets and the lecturers. And we realized that the space use of the space should be considered when we establish simulator facilities or training facilities. As you see, a very small pool, but it can be effectively used for safety at sea or saving lives at sea training, swimming training, and other damage control training. It's for firefighting. And this is an escape simulator. As you see, maybe you are not aware of this subject, but escaping from the engine room, especially, is a very significant subject. And most of the deaths or loss of the lives because of the engine, fires in engine rooms. And the people should learn how to escape. And our Lithuanian colleagues have said in their laboratory, and they have established a basic course on this subject. And before passing this part of my briefing, I would like to say something about the education system in Europe. In 2003, the European Commission has published a policy document which defines the education in European Union. And they have stressed on the use of computers or use of IT systems in the educations. And in 2007, the Commission has published another one, and this time the use of computer or IT became a high priority for the education system. And namely, we say today CBT, computer-based training, and CBTA, computer-based training assessment. These are the very important issues, not only for maritime education and training, but for all. And during this visit, we have realized that even though in small institutions, they have improved very good CBT and CBTA systems, and the lecturers has been educated how to teach in CBT systems and how they can make assessment on CBTA using CBTA techniques. And especially for the maritime field, navigation watch means our duties at sea, and the basic safety and the cargo courses. These are the significant courses or units requires use of simulator and use of computer-based training. In the past, the simulators were very expensive, but nowadays it becomes cheaper and cheaper. And it makes our job easy. As you saw, just using a desk, you can easily establish a CBT, computer-based training system. And this system on the view graph can be used not only one purpose. You can use it as a cruise simulator, you can use it as a fire control simulator, or EGNSS simulator. And I would like like to say that frankly, there are too many things to learn from the other countries. And it will make life easy for us in the future. And this is a typical classroom. At the beginning, it looks like a regular classroom, but this classroom can be used as a simulator, as a real classroom, and a study. Three purposes. This is a typical computer-assisted classroom, and half of the classrooms are equipped with the computers. As well as concerning the use of simulator. The Netherlands especially, they are very keen on effective use of simulators, which are sometimes expensive tools. And they have established a maritime simulator training center, serves approximately for all maritime institutions in Netherlands. And this simulator center is in the faculty, and the simulator staff and the faculty staff supports each other. And also, this center serves industry, especially for the specific requirements of industry, and can be used as a research center. There are too many simulators in this bridge simulator. Some of them are big and some of them are very small, but they serve for different purposes, and the capacity of the simulator can provide simulator training for 1,000 people in 1 week. The staff is approximately 30, the teaching staff. This is the interest of the center. And this is a control room of the bridge simulator. And they have created a real-world situation. And in the same time, 16 cubicles can be controlled from here. Normally, the typical simulators, bridge simulators, are for 2 cubicles. But they have created a 16 cubicles bridge simulator. And this is a new simulator system because of the offshore facilities, the petroleum rings, and they need very delicate positioning, and also very delicate maneuvering, because you can damage the platforms. And if you let's say, position the offshore installations in the wrong place, you may lose $1 million. And this is a simulator for dynamic positioning. And you can position, or you can find your position something like 10 centimeters. 10 centimeters. And nowadays, it became a significant training for maritime education and training institutions. This is another simulator training. It is, let's say, an entrance level simulator training. A very basic ARPA radar simulator system, just using 3-minute monitors. And this can be also used for GMDSS purposes, for other purposes. And this is a simulator room, originally based on GMDSS training, but now used for, also for, as a bridge simulator. And can be used for safety courses. Multiple uses. SUAS, the Finnish faculty, They have transverse bridge and engine simulators, and they are capable to make integrated operations. And they have ACTIS AIS simulators. In SUAS, the most important thing is, for the SUAS, BRM, ERM courses are combined, and it became MRM, it means Maritime Resources Management, and supported by the Swedish Club. And they have included GNSS courses as a course in their program. And they have established a very good link with the companies, shipping companies, and they provide specific trainings for the shipping companies. And in Netherlands, they have a very small ship. The Finland also has a small training ship, and it can be used anchoring, maneuvering, basic maneuver training, and the berthing drills. And, but mainly, this ship is used for hydrography and the surveyor programs of the faculty. In FMB, they have established a very good sea training system, automated data processing system. Before going to sea, they give a briefing to the students, and through internet, the students at sea can interact with the school, and they can feel their portfolios on the computer system, or let's say on a data base. And in case of any need for help, they can reach the lecturer and they can take advice, because, as you know, during the sea training, our cadets are very far away from the school, 1,000 miles away. And this is the only way, and it makes easy to make the assessment of the students at the end of the sea training. Last but not least, it is very important to underline the observation that stakeholders of all nations, MET institutions, are in very close cooperation and collaboration to improve their MET systems, to address the needs of their maritime communities. To this end, it is believed and expected that UniMET will contribute toward the enhancement and dissemination of the same cooperative atmosphere across all partners countries and throughout Europe. That concludes my talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain Demiral and Mr. Işık. I think one thing is very important. After we're going to have a short tea break, especially our the prep teachers. It would be good for you to stay for after tea break, because there's going to be a presentation by Captain Aydin Şimantepe and Mr. Serhan Sernikli. They are going to talk to you about 3 major European-funded program of maritime English. And obviously, somehow, we are going to bring some sort of integration and make sure you are aware of what we are developing and whether it can be applied. Especially Professor Süleyman Özkaynak and his colleagues, if they are going to be also involved, because after the tea break, we have got a Turkish manager for BTEC here, and they have developed a system in parallel. How are we going to develop it in terms of the new Meslek Yüksek Okulu, and how some of that BTEC system can be used and applied within the peer race in the future. Because one of the things I always want colleagues to know is Captain Demiral said we can learn a lot from others. Others are willing to come and learn from us. We are actually leading some of the developments. I remember more when we were talking about simulator training. The chamber produced all the simulators, purchased all the simulators for all the centers, and I know Boray Bey and colleagues, they went and did the training. So what I'm trying to say is that we shouldn't see as if we know all, or they know all, the whole purpose of what we have done at PLS and TUDEV and within the Chamber and the maritime community is to identify where the funding sources are, how we can put various consortiums. If you go to www.marifuture.org, you can see how many projects TUDEV has initiated, and how many consortiums there are, and how much money has gone into it, and why suddenly Europe is willing to put 35 million euro into setting up a center of excellence in Turkey. And the PLA's investment, in terms of investment, the new campus, you only have to go and see it suddenly to believe that a great deal of good thing has happened. So please have some coffee, and please do come back in 20 minutes. Thank you very much. Okay, then we are going to start. Thank you all for coming back. We have got two presentations before lunch, and after lunch we're going to have a workshop. And the first presentation is by our very good friend, Mr. John Mendik. He's the manager for Turkey as far as Edexcel is concerned. For your information, but some of you probably do not know about BTEC and so on. So I will ask John, although he's going to make introductions, it's good to give a little bit of history. So the platform is all yours, John.
Yes, good morning again, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to be here because as Edexcel and Pearson, the wider umbrella, which I'll be explaining in a minute, we have been working with TUDEV for a very long time now, and I have known Professor Zeyrati since the beginning of this year when I started my job with Edexcel, and now I can say he's a great friend of mine. As Pearson, as you see on the left corner there, our motto is always learning, and as Pearson, we are also learning from TUDEV, and in the future we hope that the students and the teachers at Piri Reis University, we will continue our cooperation in this area. I will try to open a different and a new window to the maritime education and training, which is the quality assurance. Our teacher lady here, emphasized the importance of quality assurance and progression and recognition of the levels and the qualifications, and I will try to emphasize that. Before going that, as Professor Reza asked me, I will try to give a brief history of Edexcel and Pearson and what we are doing. Pearson is the world's largest learning company, world's largest education solutions company in the world, and it owns today's more than 60 companies, and one of them is Edexcel. Edexcel is involved in the vocational education and academic education and training issues within Pearson team. What we do as Edexcel is we establish the vocational education programs within cooperation with the business sector skill councils in the UK. We learn the vocational qualifications that the sectors need. And then we are in contact with the government bodies, which give us the vocational standards. Then we bring vocational standards and vocational qualifications together within the vocational education programs, and those are delivered to the students by institutions like TUDEV and Piri Reis University, so that the students have the vocational qualifications that they need to perform that vocation. So that at the end of these vocational education programs, students are awarded certificates or diploma that are recognized throughout the world, and they give the students the chance to progress into academia and into employment. During the coffee break, we were discussing with some professors that, and also most of the speakers in the morning mentioned that this sector needs students which will work on ships, which will practice this vocation. And also, we need students who will continue to academia to become doctors and professors again. So the EdExcel programs, BTech programs, give the students the chance to continue to academia or to continue to employment. All these things are done within the wider umbrella of Pearson under EdExcel, and the vocational education programs we offer as EdExcel are called BTech. So it can be confusing sometimes. But we operate throughout the world. Speaking about Pearson, it's more than 500 million people per year who learns English with Pearson products. And when it comes to EdExcel, we operate in more than 100 countries through 5,500 centers. And our potential in Turkey, our market in Turkey is growing. And we really believe that TÜDEV and Piri Reis University is a very important partner for us to grow our business in Turkey, because I know that the other EdExcel centers in Turkey, they also learn from TÜDEV and their experiences. I know that they are giving phone calls to the officials at TÜDEV and try to learn more about EdExcel. And when you write EdExcel Turkey on Google, you inevitably go to TÜDEV's website. So it's important. And our projects are growing in Turkey. We are working with universities, we are working with corporate bodies, and we are also in contact with the government. Recently, we delivered a presentation to the Minister of Education, who asked us about our ideas on the vocational education reform, which didn't come through at the end, but we are in contact with the government bodies as well. When it comes to education in general, EdExcel and Pearson's point of view is that starting from the very early ages at K-12 sector, throughout all this career, it's always learning, as I said in the beginning of my presentation. We deliver programs which can be customized according to the needs of K-12 schools, universities, lifelong learning centers, teachers training, etc. And we support these by digital platforms and the partnerships we have with the institutions. And within these programs, what we offer to the students, what we offer to the centers and the institutions is, as I told you, recognized certificates in general, award certificate or diploma at the end, which will give the students the chance to progress into academia or into employment. So this QCF model, which has been newly regulated by the UK government in 2010. I will not give you the whole story about NQF, NVQs and QCFs, but it's important to know that this QCF is totally in line with the European qualifications framework. So if you have a level 5 higher national diploma from TÜDEV or from Piri Reis University, and you go to a university in Europe, it's the same level, it's the same qualification. So these are all aligned with themselves. So this gives you the recognition and the chance to progress. Well, really, I'm not an expert in marine engineering, I'm not an expert in maritime education, I'm not going to give you a lecture about how the maritime education should be reformed. But reading on the internet and listening to the briefs in the morning, I understand that the standards needs to be enhanced within the sector. The quality assurance should be enhanced. Further mobility the students need, and further engagement with the stakeholders. And these needs, I believe, the works undertaken by Pearson and EdExcel can be met by our programs and our understanding of quality assurance. And the live example of this is TÜDEV. We have been working with TÜDEV for more than 10 years. TÜDEV reflects these needs, these requirements of the sector, and as far as we have been working with them, we are giving them the answers. But within the general and overall context of vocational education, the challenges, I think, are similar with the challenges in your sector. The there's a shortage of vocational skills because vocational high schools in Turkey, meslek liseleri veya meslek yüksekokulları, have a negative reputation. The families don't want to send their children to vocational high schools or vocational schools in Turkey. The course contents are usually outdated. These needs to be in line with international standards and international programs. As at Excel, we update our programs in every 2 years. And we do these updates in close relations with the sector skill councils in the UK and in different sectoral organizations in different countries. So the negative perceptions or misperceptions about vocational education should be changed, and for this to happen, international standards and international applications have an important role to play, I believe. As Pearson, I know that this is very difficult to read from where you're standing, but I will give you a short story about this project. Pearson started this project in 2007 and finished last year. Pearson visited 25 countries from the United States to China, sat together with the universities, with innovation centers, with governments, ministers of education, sectoral organizations, company leaders, CEOs, and etc., and asked, what do you expect from vocational education? As a company leader, what do you expect from vocational education? And as a university, what would you like to add to the vocational education? The center of what we found out in 4 or 5 years is that it's the quality assurance, it's the standards and continuous improvement of the vocational programs. So the sectors and the universities believe that students need to have the skills, they need to have the knowledge, and need to know how to behave within the sector. So all these 3 things should be within the education program. And this education program needs to be supported by standards, by the quality assurance. So we blueprinted this as effective education for employment, a EEE process in Pearson, but the main focus of this process is quality standards and quality assurance. This morning, fitness for purpose was mentioned. It's important for the quality assurance, it's important for vocational education, and also important for your sector. And poor quality brings many costs. Sometimes, especially this is mainly true for the companies and sometimes SMEs. They think that investing in quality assurance brings costs. They find it burdensome. But in the medium or in the longer term, you find out that, as you see in this picture, you start to lose sales. You start to lose money because cost of poor quality is way more than cost of bringing a quality assurance within an institution. Because quality assurance brings you accountability, brings you international acceptability and recognition in your sector. And also, it brings standards. So within a university, imagine one of the professors is given a course around marine engineering. So he goes to the class for 5 weeks. Everything's okay. Then he gets sick or stuck in Istanbul traffic and he can't go to the class and asks one of his friends to go to the class. If there is no standards, the other professor will start from somewhere in his mind and will be speaking about a total different story. But if you have the standards within your educational programs, everything will be in line with each other. So professors will already be in contact. I will be speaking about this in a minute. And they will be giving the same things to the students. So when the students gets enrolled in an exam by Sezai Hoca or by Ergün Hoca, it will be the same. The assessment and the results will be the same. So what I'm trying to explain with the quality assurance, it has 2 main functions. One is internal quality assurance, what we call internal verification within Pearson. It's that the main coordination and the quality assurance within the institution. And the external quality assurance, which external bodies like ISO, like Edexcel and City Angles or SQA, many organizations in the world, makes quality checks the accountability of the institution. So it's supported by 2 functions. internal within the institution and external from an international objective third party. When we look at the internal, I will just skip to yes, this one. This explains the structure much better. So, within an institution which gives vocational education, you have to be able to manage the quality within the center. So at the top, it's the manager, the director, müdür, or whatever it is called within the institution. Then there is the external secretary, who is a secretary who coordinates the daily work, the paperwork, and etc., the secretary of the principal. Then, at the end, you see the students who will be awarded the certificates or diplomas, and the teachers or assessors, however you call it. Like the story I told you a couple of minutes ago, if the students and assessors are one by one, and they are not watched or observed by anyone else, it will not be within the standards, because this teacher will be speaking about something to these students, and when these students go to the lecture of this teacher, it will be something else. But what we offer within the internal quality assurance, what we say to the students, is that there should be internal verifiers, internal quality assurance people, who will be coordinating with the teachers within the institution. So when the teachers prepare their vocational programs, yearly academic programs, they will go to the internal verifier and tell him that this is my program. This internal verifier will have different programs of different teachers and will coordinate between these programs. So when the students are enrolled in different programs, they will still be able to follow the same rules. So the role of the assessor, the role of the teacher, I'm not going to explain here what the roles of the teachers are. But the role of the internal verifier within this is managing the quality within the center, liaising with the external verifier. Support is important, because in Turkish we usually use the word müfettiş, which comes from teftiş, but it's not inspection, it's support, it's verification. So what the teachers are, it's not about being right or wrong what the teacher is doing. It's about coordinating what different teachers are doing. So it's not teftiş, it's just support and developing the assessors. So it's about accuracy and consistency, which I've been speaking since the beginning of my speech. So it's managing the quality, assuring the consistency. And this needs to be supported by the external quality assurance, the external verifiers we call them in Excel. So in a yearly basis or on a 6-month basis, things continue within the centers, things go on operating. Teachers, classrooms, students, internal verifiers, things are coordinated and going on. But maybe because of the daily work, maybe because of you have many different duties, you're teachers, you're admin people, you're dealing with students, you're dealing with YÖK, you're dealing with the Ministry of Education, you have many things to do. And sometimes you can miss some points of the quality assurance. So it's then our duty as at Excel to give you the necessary support by visiting the institutions once or twice a year, giving the support. And again, it's about accuracy and consistency of the quality. So this gives the vocational education what it needs. I was speaking about recognition and progression rules for the students. For this recognition to happen, things should be within the standards of the international regulations. And for the progression to happen, students need to be organized or oriented by the assessors within the quality. So, before concluding, what we are doing with our centers is we're trying to develop the teaching skills and subject knowledge within the centers by giving the international best practices and the education programs which are prepared with regard to these international best practices. Then we want the centers to develop their equipments, laboratories, IT equipments, the facilities for the students and the facilities for the teachers, for the education to happen effectively. I am perfectly aware that all these things are in place within within peer reviews. I'm not saying that these should be within your institutions, but what I'm trying to tell is what our support is also within these respects. And what we do at the end as a private company, we sell these programs. So we want the institutions to do the payment. Then this is what the institutions don't like, and this is what we look for actually at the end of the day. And the delivery and assessment to be accurate and consistent with the rules. So just to conclude, the title of the presentation was about the 21st century skills. You have been speaking about this since the starting of the morning. The world is changing. The competition within the international markets is growing. Some countries in Europe face the trouble of collapsing, and some countries in our region, like in Turkey, we are growing. So the employees, the students, the companies, the universities need 21st century skills and different skills within this respect. So as Pearson and Excel, we are ready to support you and make your teachers and learners ready for the 21st century skills. Thank you for your patience very much.
John, for a very interesting presentation. And I just want to add something, because sometimes there could be a confusion. I have been in Turkey for 18 years. And when I came here, it was for a few days, become a few weeks, become a few months now, year by year, and I think I'm going to die here. But you need to know one thing which is very important. When I was in the UK, we had two education councils. These are national bodies. We call it BEC and TEC. Business Education Council, Technical Education Council. And when I was a teacher, sometimes they used to come up to colleges, universities, ask rectors, could they nominate someone to come on board with us to bring the business and technical education together? That's where BTEC came. It was a government body. Even when we started the BTEC, when we went with the number of governors to London, it was a council. And Edexcel was still a body working within the UK Vocational Council. Pearson came later. Now, Europe wants this organization to be run by prominent companies. And because their view is, if they have the resources to find out what the requirements are, they can then support the developments, and if they don't do a good business, that's the end of their market, that's the end of the company, at least in that sector. So this is what Europe wants. Europe, for instance, if we set up the Turkish Maritime Center of Excellence, they want it to be run by a company, not by the government. Not, okay, in Turkey, government is dominant, does what it has to, we have to accept. But most of the thing in Europe is becoming more company. To that itself is a company. But technically, this term company should not put us off. So when we started, it wasn't Pearson. We went there and we got and developed everything. But whether we like it or not, Pearson is responsible for Edexcel. Edexcel cannot do what it wishes. There is a framework defined by each government, by the European Union, and you have to uphold. And they cannot assess. They have to appoint external assessors who are independent. Yesterday we had I know Boraybe was just here, Captain Ergube. These assessors are not employees of Edexcel or BTEC or Pearson. These are independent people like us from our peer group. They come and then they come and visit and they report, right? And the report is copied to us, and obviously we can have a look at the report and so on. So I don't want any confusion that suddenly we went to Pearson and said, come and we want to run these things. These things are run within an international framework, within the European framework, and there is a great deal of government interest in what these bodies like BTEC are doing. But they are very well known, they are very well respected. For instance, almost every school I shouldn't say every, maybe 70% of the schools in UK run BTEC programs. And when I was in UK, every college of further education was running BTEC programs. Every university, and some of the universities decided to go into foundation degrees, produce something similar. Now, the trend is changing. the government is going back to BTEC and wanting BTEC to become more involved because they're more national, more international and so on, and they have the resources to find out what the requirements are. Now, the next presentation is a very interesting presentation. My hope is some colleagues from TUDAV have already transferred to PHAs on the maritime, on the prep program, some on the main program, and this is one family, and eventually you're all going to be one, in whatever capacity, because it doesn't really matter at the end. So the two people who are hopefully they're going to join the PHAs in the future, and they've been involved with two major European Union-funded projects. One is called Captains, one is called Martel Plus. I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to invite, I don't know how you're going to come in, who's going to come first. Is it Mr. Simon Sadicki? He's going to come and talk to you probably about Martel Plus. And later on, Captain Aydin Shimantape is going to talk to you probably about Captains. Remember one thing, at TUDAF, and I'm sure that is the case in PHAs, we all have to be involved in some sort of development. Even when you look at Captain Ergun Bey, he did his PhD, he's got Sayın Albayrak sitting there, Captain and Doctor, you did your PhD. Cesar Bey, he's doing his PhD. Or people are doing a project. It's not easy to write a proposal. It's not easy to get funding. Because the success of this proposal is 10%. Would you do it? Would you put 6 months of work? Put a consortium within Europe, say 7 major maritime institutions, discussion, phone, a Skype meeting, put a proposal, eventually say no. You know? So it needs guts. It needs guts to come in, put the proposal, put the consortium, put in, and if it's successful, it means they've done something well. That is just a start. Implementing the project, they will tell you. It's torture, right? But you have to do it. Implement it, and you have to be successful, because they can't assess you. At the end of the first year, at the end of the project, they give you a grade. So, and they want us the money back. Imagine they come to do that. They give you 400,000, and they say they want the money back. No, imagine my reputation, or the reputation of these guys. No, really, it means they take a huge risk. We are being involved, but I want you to know, TUDAF Foundation, TUDAF Center Institute PRAs, we want people to take risk. Because without taking risks, you are really not doing a great deal. Life is about taking risks, assessing that risk, minimizing it, learning, working, and doing what is necessary. Now, sorry about that, Simon Bey. The platform is yours now.
Good day to you, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Let's go through this. Presentation. And this. Okay. Today I'm going to give you a very basic information about the Martel and Martel Plus projects. But before going on this, I would like to share with you an interesting view, which I read in a book a few years ago. It's a wonderful book called Outlaw Sea by Mr. William Langewiesche. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. He says in his book that our world is an ocean world. Under its many names and with variations in color and mood, a single ocean spreads across the 3/4 of the globe. At a time when every last patch of land is claimed by one government or another, the ocean is a realm that remains radically free. That's an interesting view. And what's more, every day, thousands and thousands of ships of various sizes and types are sailing in this realm, and with crews on board from many nations and origins. So this realm becomes a multinational and multi-ethnical and multicultural realm, and it is transcending the control of each and every nation involved, enjoying almost a wild freedom of action and status. Perhaps this is why we need such efforts like UniMET project to unify around certain standards, to understand each other better, and to create a more controlled theater, a more controlled environment where our ships can safely sail. And as I said, to understand us better, each other better, we need a language, and the language of the sea is mainly English. But it's no ordinary English. It's an English soaked by frequent splashes of maritime discourse, eventually changes its name to Maritime English, and finally becomes as free and diverse as the realm it deals with. So, this may seem a nice thinking, but when in harsh reality, according to IMO statistics in 2006, 80% of the accidents at sea are caused by human error, and nearly half of which are attributed to communication failures among the crew and the crews of ships, and the crews on land and ships and so on. So that's where we started Martel project, in this atmosphere. And we intended to create a set of maritime English tests for seafarers. We started the project in 2007 and completed it in 2009. And our aim was to produce tests for maritime English language standards by a new and innovative approach to the maritime English language of mariners and port personnel. The innovation was in the philosophy of Martel. The tests handled the testing of English language in maritime context and professional discourse. This is not something very new, but what's new is with Martel that our tests focus on the language skills as the subject of the assessment with the usage of nautical vocabulary and communicational phrases. Till we started Martel project, mostly maritime English tests were something like a professional test in English. I mean, they seem to be like the translation of maritime knowledge into English, and the questions were designed like this. But in Martel, we changed this and we focused on the language skills. And what's more, in terms of innovation, we distinguished the needs of, the language needs of different types of seafarers. So we constructed Martel tests, or we named Martel tests in 3 phases. The Martel phase 1 was designed for learners who wish to enter maritime training institutions as officer cadets. And it was designed to test the English and general English and set in a maritime context. In phase 1, these subjects are more of a general interest. Articles from magazines and newspaper clips, but they all concern, or they all cover maritime issues. But of course, the target group, we know that they are non-professionals or just beginners. So the tone of the maritime context is set to a very general level. And this test is broken into the following sections like this. First, we start with a structure, which is purely grammatical section. And then it is followed by the skills of the English language, reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So this is basically the Martel phase 1 test is about. Phase 2 test is very different from the phase 1 test. First of all, it contains 2 different sets of tests, one for the deck and one for the engine department. And these tests are designed for the graduates of maritime academies and the deck and engineer officers who are already serving on board ships and holding junior positions. So these tests are for professionals, or the beginner, the persons who are beginning their professional life. And they are designed to test English language usage in maritime context and professional discourse. And also these tests are broken down into the following sections like this. Now instead of structure, we pass that, we use SMCP as the first section of the test. And SMCP is the only standard in maritime English accepted by the many nations. And IMO, of course, on the very first line. And we consider this SMCP, meaning I will explain this, the standard marine communication phrases, very important. So we test our applicants, our test takers, on this part. And the usual language skills of reading, listening, speaking, and writing follow the first section of SMCP. In phase 3, again, we have two different sets of tests. These are aimed for the deck and engine senior officers, who are captains, chief engineers, pilots, and other high-level port authority personnel. And this is no more operational level. These tests are designed for the English proficiency, to test English proficiency in management level. The phase 2 was more in operational level, everyday life on board and duties and responsibilities. But when it comes to phase 3, we aim for the higher level personnel, the senior officers and the veterans of this profession, and we aim for the management level proficiency in English. Again, these two tests are broken down into the following sections. This time, just speaking we consider important, and writing for reports and the incident reports and perhaps other writing materials. So these are the three phases of Martel, which we have completed in 2007, between 2007 and 2009. And it was a cooperation with many respectable institutions from all over Europe. I'm not going to read them, you see them on the screen. All these institutions of maritime education and training were within the project in these years. After the successful completion of Martel project, we have now the Martel Plus project. It's a continuation of Martel project, and it started in 2010 and now coming to an end by the end of this year. And it's built up on the successfully concluded Martel project with a range of new features and functionalities. To name these, very basically, first, in the first Martel project, we didn't include the ratings, which are also the very important part of the seafaring people. And in Martel Plus, now we have a test, maritime English test for the ratings. I will give a bit more detail on this one. Also, for all levels, we have a multi-level enhanced oral test with one-to-one examination. Martel tests are computer-based tests, but this one, the enhanced oral test, is a one-to-one examination. What's more, we have the teacher's guidelines for all Martel tests, including phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and the phase R. And also the mobile phone application with practice tests, and the enhancement of test center quality control system. These are all the new features of the Martel Plus project, which will also enhance the original Martel project. So let me give you a very simple, a very brief information about the Martel Phase R test. It is, again, two sets of tests and designed for ratings of deck and engineering departments. And the test is designed to test the maritime English required for on-board activities of crew members in beginner's level. Very simple test in terms of English, but still a challenging one. Well, it has its sections, like the specialized vocabulary. We test the ratings in a very beginner's level of SMCP and the special vocabulary of the maritime English. Then comes the listening part. We test the ratings in listening skills and the speaking part. So these are the sections of the tests for both tech and engineering. And we have our partners here again, some continuing from the original Martel project, like the Center of Factories, TÜDEV, and University of Applied Sciences. Also, we have newcomers, like the Bulgarian Academy of Nikola Vaptsarov, and the Royal Maritime University from Sweden, University of Cadiz, and the National Maritime College of Ireland. And we did not only created a set of tests, but we also created study guidelines to help those people who want to take a test. And here we have created 6 study guidelines for each phase and for each group of the tests, tech and engineering apart. So these study guidelines are designed to facilitate maritime English learning and prepare test takers for the phase tests and provide a general outline for training courses. Well, thank you very much. This is very brief. I know I'm one of the last speakers before the lunch, so I will end it here, and I will invite my friend and colleague, Aydeş Sürmantepe, to the platform. And if you have any questions, we can discuss them after the presentation. I will be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For the guests, my name is Aydeş Sürmantepe. I've been working for TÜDEV for the last 4 years as maritime English instructor and researcher. And through the course of this period, I was involved in, together with my friend, dear friend, Saha Zalikli, in Martel Plus and Captains projects. And today I'm going to give you just brief information on the Captains project. The acronym CAPTAINS stands for Communication and Practical Training Applied in Nautical Studies. It's a Leonardo project, Leonardo funded project, Transfer of Innovation Leonardo project, and we have 8 partners from 5 different countries. We represent TÜDEV Turkey in this project. We have C4FF from UK. We have 4 different institutions from Greece. And we have University of Cadiz, OPR, again, from Poland. Okay, the project itself, first of all, is for creating an innovative way of, innovative tool for teaching maritime English. And the main goals are, these are the basics, actually they're detailed, to contribute to safety culture at sea through improving English communication skills by using mishaps which are based on communication failures in real-life critical situations, diverse cultures on board due to multinational crews, and to develop attractive rich media, interactive virtual simulators to allow for effective learning of functional communication of maritime English, to avoid culturally originated communicative incompetence or misunderstandings, to increase cooperation between the training institutions and several social partners to develop new vocational skills such as communicative English competence. Okay, the project is, the duration of the project is actually 24 months. Most probably there will be a 3-month extension because of the end of the semester period. These are the work packages we have been realizing through the project period. And as TÜDEV, we will be leading work package 6 which will be involving training, piloting, and evaluation of what has been done so far. And the end product of the project will be in two different forms. One will be standalone version in DVD format. This is going to be used as a self-study tool by the students. They will be able to install them onto their computers and practice through their computers. The second version is the online version on Quebo platform. The Greek partners is running this one. And there they will have individual user accounts, they will have chat rooms, and they will be able to enroll the courses and etc. Okay, what we have done so far, we have completed 2 of those. The cadet level questionnaire was produced here at TÜDEV and was run with the majority of the cadets last year, and a full analysis was performed and shared with the partners. An international online questionnaire was produced. Actually, this questionnaire had 2 different parts. One was for the maritime instructors, the other one was for the mariners. So this was run online internationally, and full analysis of these 2 led us to have the analysis of what we have to teach. Throughout this period, we had 3 main workshops, one in Turkey, here at TÜDEV, one in Greece, and one in UK. The large scale of these 3 was the Greek one. There they had the representatives from the shipping industry, academicians, mariners, technicians, whoever, they were all there and they discussed it. So taking all these outcomes of all these 3, we had developed the basics of what we need to teach to the cadets. And the knowledge base was formulated through real-life excellent reports. Actually, we chose collision because of the lack of resources and time. We could have done with the grounding, with flooding, fire on board, etc., but the time wasn't enough for dealing with all of these. So the consortium, the partners, we decided to have collision only. We have produced 2 successive units on collision and the standalone versions of these 2 units. Okay, the ongoing and future steps, standalone version of Unit 1, which is on collision, and the standalone version of Unit 2, again on collision, are now being transferred to electronic format by Greek partners. Same goes for the online version of the units. The pending items are the 3D, 2D animation, which will be initiated in July, hopefully. Training sessions, that we will start doing it at the beginning of the next semester. Recently, we are developing a piloting plan together with a questionnaire so that when we run it, we will have a feedback from whoever tests it. And the last step will be external evaluation examination. Okay, this is the Captain's website front page, captains.pro. More detailed information is included in here. If you wish to go in, you can have the results of the surveys, the questionnaires I've been talking about, the partners, the news, the latest events, and all. Okay, now I would like to show you some snapshots of the expected end project, I should say. First, the standalone version, the DVD format. It will be focusing on real-life scenarios, collision in this case, communicative English learning, intercultural awareness. This holds a great amount through the course because of the multinational crews we have on board, and rich media virtual interactive simulations. These are the snapshots from the outcome of this version. This is from Marine Traffic One, and we took permission to use it through our project. So the cadets will be dealing with real-life thing which happened recently. And the online version, this will be run on Quebo platform, which is a learning platform. They can use it in another way. For us, it's a learning platform. And this version will focus on effective integration of internet in maritime English teaching. We have some DVD formats so far, but they are not integrated in with internet. And it will motivate cooperation and collaboration. It will give you a chance for video conferencing and for entering the chat rooms for talk on the subject. It will lead or let the cadets to create wikis and collaborative content when available. They will give you a chance for sharing the experience in the forums you create. And you will be able to create your forums together with enrollment for the next coming courses. And the most important of all, the system will let you to cooperate with other maritime institutes through video conferencing, so that 2 different classrooms from 2 different countries will be able to communicate through 3 or 2 hours through video conferencing. It gives you slots, slots for experts to go in, chat, contribute and go out, so the experts, the marines, the captains, will be able to go into the classroom, virtual ones of course, and communicate with learners. And it will support creating communities and discussion groups. This is the snapshot of Quebo site, but it has been changed since we have this picture. Here you can just log in with your username and password and then create your own calendar. You can just enter course if there is an ongoing course, or schedule whatever you want. And this keeps every information you punch in there till your next time. So if you start solving a test and you start at 15th question, next time you start from the 15th question. Okay, last but not least, the 2D, 3D content. These are the pictures of the 3D module that we are planning to use for on-bridge simulations. Different perspectives. This is the outline. Hopefully this work will be starting in July. We are expecting it to be a simple one, not a 3D game-like thing, but still the figures will be moving within this bridge to communicate or to run the show. And okay, as a last word, what I can tell you is the outcome of the CAPTAIN project hopes to create a maritime English learning community where teachers, learners, experts can find their place for educational network. This completes my presentation. I will be more than happy to answer questions if there is.